And welcome to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player and a weight loss champion. He's Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker.
Howdy.
I'm former wrestling announcer turned said weight loss champion Chuck Carroll. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Fourth and Pain, like us on Facebook, and by God, set your calendars, lunch with us each and every weekday, 12 noon, fourthandpain.com. Low calorie, Adam. High energy.
That's how we do.
And on the hotline with us right now, so excited. She is perhaps my link to wrestling greatness because she was in pro wrestling school with me. She hit me with the wrong side of the chair. She's gone on to do big and just great things, and I'm so proud of her. Mickie James, welcome to Fourth and Pain.
Thank you. How did I know that was going to be like the first thing you brought up?
Because it's his link to fame. That's why.
What he said.
Getting beat up by a girl.
What he said. So, I've told the story 18 billion times, but now, Mickie, that you're on the line, I'll tell it once again, perhaps for the final time, and let you off the hook. The story goes, it was chair shot day. Everybody's just kind of feeding in the ring. And I believe that I had just started school at that point. And so the new guy, I'm still in high school at the time, goes in the ring and he's the one taking all the chair shots. And, all the guys are taking their turn, they're hitting me with the chair. And then, I didn't know that Mickie was cycling through the rotation. And then I feel this chair shot and I'm just like, it felt so much differently. Well, come to find out the chair was turned the opposite way around. And I had, a couple
I had never hit anyone with a chair before.
Was that your first time?
You're making her feel bad, Chuck.
It was.
Jeez.
Well, it was my first time, and I was too nervous to say. I thought you know how when you grab it, and you realize it halfway through, you're just like.
I love the honesty.
It's all good, and I remember the guy that was actually given the chair shot drills, given the instruction, he had no sympathy for me. He was like, no, Mickie, this is how you do it. And then this short little squatty fella, he comes back and for a short, small guy, like
Shorty
me.
Smalls.
Shorty Smalls, exactly. He comes through and he whacks the bejesus out of me right side on the chair. And this guy prided himself on two things, Adam. The stiffness of his chops and his chair shots. And this is what Shorty Smalls did, and that's how I died. So this is Chuck 2.0.
Now, as a fan, as someone who doesn't know a great deal about wrestling itself, I'm curious, how is a chair shot supposed to be delivered? What is the right way to do it?
Mickie, you're the professional. You feel this one.
Well, there's a proper way, obviously, and I don't want to, tell all the kids out there. But as you notice, when you fold a chair, there's the outside lip, on the back of the chair.
Yeah.
That usually kind of curves out. Well, that is the side that you don't want really going towards.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want that side down. You want the flat side of the seat more down. Because that lip's going to be pretty dangerous. Yeah, and cause stitches.
I could see how that would hurt.
Dude,
I feel for you a tiny bit.
Well, I appreciate
You're
that.
sitting on a chair. Maybe I'll practice afterwards. How's that sound?
Well,
That'll be fun.
Hey, man, I'll tell you this much. I know that you've gone through a lot of pain playing football and you got the current knee injury, but, man, I'm telling you, you get hit by a chair, that, my friend, that is pain right there.
I won't argue with it. It looks painful, especially if it's not, done correctly. So
it is that.
So, sympathize with you.
To be fair, I think it was because it was your first day, too. It was one of those, let's see how bad he wants it, welcome to the business kind of thing.
Yeah, and that was actually the first day when I kind of decided, well, maybe I'd be better suited as an announcer. And so I said, forget this whole wrestling bit. I'm just going to talk. And that kind of worked out well for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mickie James, here's the funny thing. I didn't even realize because I had left the business for a little bit and I'm sitting in the studio at a radio station spinning Christmas records of all things. And I hadn't even watched any wrestling on television for a while. And I turn it on and lo and behold, who do I see? On Monday Night Raw, it's Mickie James, and you could have knocked me over with a feather at that point. I literally fell out of my seat, and I was like, "Oh my God, somebody made it." So, Mickie, my question to you is, and I know that you spent years working your way up through the independents. At what point did you realize, hey, I've managed to do something that not many people have do, and I have finally made it?
I think the ultimate culmination was probably at WrestleMania, that first WrestleMania against Trish. As far as realizing that I had kind of, I had debuted on TV, but prior to that, I spent 3 years in OVW, which is their developmental territory, and that whole time is you're glad that you have a contract, and you're so grateful that you're, a part of the company, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you've made it. It just means that you've made it to the bottom run. You know what I mean? And it's still, and that's even harder to fight from there, I think, just because there's just as many people in that same class that all want to make it to TV and all want to be a star, aside from, that was just one step. So then, when I finally debuted after, 4 or 5 times that I was supposed to debut, I mean, that was an awesome moment. But WrestleMania, my mom's sitting in the front row. I win the women's championship for the first time and had a hell of a storyline, probably like one of the greatest females storylines of the decade, I would say.
No argument here.
The two, and to have that, and then it was just that, guys, I just remember this moment, and it was when I was making one of my crazy faces. I think after I can remember like it was yesterday, like after I jumped off the turnbuckle and dropped Trish's knee over the top rope, and then I jumped down and I just like opened my arms. I was like, yeah, and then I look around and there's 80,000 people there just screaming back at me, and I was like, I had tears almost in my eyes. Like I was like, this is it. Like it was so weird. Like I couldn't hear just one person. It just sounded like a massive just amount of people yelling back at you, and then to split the crowd like that, and it was surreal, man. I mean, it was one of I'll never forget. It was like I was lost in a movie. Like I was in a movie that whole time.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
And
yeah,
absolutely, that angle with Trish Stratus, that's one that's going to go down in infamy. I don't think that you can ever craft another storyline quite like that's going to catch fire. I mean, talk about a hell of a way for you to make your debut, to come in like that, and that really set the table for you to kind of catapult into greatness and walk away with multiple title reigns as the WWE Divas champion. Now, Mickie, I think...
Yeah, I was very blessed in that very blessed in that fact, because there were several times I was supposed to debut before that, and then at one point, and I'm sitting in loop, I'm like, what if I don't, you start to doubt yourself. You're like, well, what if this doesn't happen, and what if it doesn't make it? So I decided to go back to school, and I took online courses, and the day I started my online courses, actually the same day I debuted. It was ironic, but, I think back, and I'm like, well, what if I had debuted in one of those other storylines, whether it was, as Punk's valet, which, we actually went out and did a match on Sunday Night Heat, and then they ended up pulling it from the show, or, a few of the other times where they had brought me up to debut and then they changed their mind last minute. Like, what if that, I don't think that I would have had the career that I had, so I'm very blessed. And I got to work with some really amazing people and people that I had looked up to for a long time, like Lita and Trish, and be able to kind of, I mean, they gave me the rub, like they kind of, helped me, to become who I was and to kind of solidify my name in the business. So, I was just very fortunate, and I'm very grateful for that.
Now, there's been a ton of storylines that have come out, but I'm pretty sure I remember yours. I just want to make sure I remember correctly. You were like the crazy Trish Stratus fan, and it turned out that you could fight. That was the storyline, correct? Now, this was a while ago, so I'm actually proud of myself that I remember. What was it like working with Trish Stratus and Lita? Those are two of my favorite divas of all time, as well as yourself. What was it like working with them?
I thought I was.
Well, I said as well as yourself. Those are my top 3.
No, it was amazing working with them. Well, I had known Lita for a very long time. I mean, when I was working the Indies, she would pull me aside, like in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, and go like, "This was awesome, and this, and this. Don't ever do that again." You know what I mean? So it was kind of cool to. And I'd always, if she was ever there, she was one of those people who would go to some of those independent shows and just kind of watch behind the curtain, just kind of support. And she was bored and wanted something to do, and she was always super cool to me. And so to be able to work with them on the big stage at that point, it was kind of, I didn't know Trish very well prior to going in, and aside from just meeting her a few times and tryouts and stuff like that. But it was cool because I think that I helped her on little things like, some of the chain wrestling and certain cool things that she had never done before. And then she helped me on things that I had no clue about, like, which camera to go to, or, facials and stuff like that, where I wasn't paying attention to that. I was a wrestler, you know what I mean? I wasn't a TV star kind of deal. So it kind of worked. I think that we used each other's strengths and kind of, balanced off of those. And that's what really helped me, I think. And it was cool that I got to work with her first, because I don't know that, somebody else would have taught me all that kind of stuff, and then by the time I finally had a chance to work with Lita, I had been there a little bit, and I got to, work with her in her last round before she retired, which was super cool for me because I'd always wanted to work with her, and for some reason it just never happened storyline wise. And so I was grateful that I was,
We're speaking with Mickie James on Fourth and Pain. And Mickie, last WWE question before we bring things present. I remember meeting you seeing you for the first time in a number of years at WrestleMania 24. And I remember on the flight down, I was doing the radio junket, and I remember on the flight down having my fingers crossed, like, I really hope that she's working Media Road that morning when I'm there. And sure enough, you land at my table, and I'm looking all sorts of shoddy. This was before I, lost all this weight. I'm still about 350, 375 at that point. Hadn't even got up to 420. But my God, if you didn't remember me, and I can't even tell you how much that meant to me. That was really cool.
Oh, well, how could I forget you?
I don't know.
I mean, I've had some lumps to the head, and I've forgotten a lot of things. But no, it was cool. I thought it was really cool. Like it's a small world, It's cool that like you had grown and done something outside of wrestling, but still had how things sometimes come full circle. And I thought it was just really cool to see you there. And I was like, wow, like it just shows what a small world. And that's like one of those things with like, you always want to be gracious and kind of, remember people all the way through your career, because you just never know when you're going to cross paths again, and that was just one of those moments where I go, wow, that's cool.
Right.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
It was pretty damn cool for me too.
Well, I want to know, what was Chuck like back in wrestling school? Was he the class clown? Was he like the village idiot? What was he like in wrestling school?
No, he's always been a bit of a jokester, but I think he was just so shy. That's what I remember mostly. Is like that he was
face
pretty
does not
shy,
agree with
like,
your statement.
I think because this business it just feeds off of people's insecurities a lot of times, and just like any entertainment industry or whatever. And so I don't know, but you could see that he had a true love for wrestling and was a big fan of it. But he was a bit shy, but he was also a lot younger then and impressionable, I would say.
But
shy. Weren't we all?
I was shy around you because you were hot always, and I'll be perfectly honest, I may have had a crush on you and not known how to deal with it at the time, Mickie James. But let's talk about present time. Now, of course, you're the #1 contender for the TNA Knockouts title. You had taken time off of television. You come back, already you're the #1 contender again. Talk about your time now in TNA. You still having a lot of fun there?
Came back strong. Now I'm having a blast there. It's really cool. Like Dixie's a wonderful woman to work for, and it's cool to be able to be a part of a company where, just to see a woman, in charge and in power in a male-dominated industry. It's cool for me being a woman. Just go like, yeah, my boss is pretty kick-ass. And she's a sweetheart. Like honestly, she's so sweet and genuine. So, I'm having a ton of fun. I came in and I felt like, I've been able to kind of do some cool things, and I've won the championship twice, and which has done well for me.
Sure.
It's done well for me, yeah. And what is really cool is that she is super behind my music aspirations and totally wants me to pursue it and has helped me in, as far as on anything that she can do on that side of it. Most, which, a lot of times, like when you're doing one thing, they don't want you to do anything else because they want your entire focus to be on what, the wrestling. And I still feel like I have a ton to prove in wrestling, but it doesn't negate my love for wrestling just because I love music too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's cool to have somebody that, like, that they understand that and they want you to be successful and stuff outside of the wrestling business, because not only does it make you stronger as a personality and as a person, but it makes the company stronger and everybody wins.
Absolutely.
I do have a confession to make, and I don't care. You can make fun of me for this because it's a good song.
Okay.
Hardcore country. It's on my iPod, and I listen to it while I work out from time to time. That's all right. I'm not ashamed. I am not ashamed. It's a good song.
Well, we're speaking with Mickie James here on Fourth and Pain. And Mickie, we've touched on your wrestling time and a little bit on the music. But as I understand it, 2013, you're going to be dropping another album. You've been in the studio. You ready for this thing to drop?
I'm so ready. Like, it's been a process. Like this one, we took more time. I released my first album in 2010 and did it all by pretty much by myself. Like I had, a team behind me, but for the most part, I did it by myself. And releasing the second album, I did the Kickstarter program and built up the fans who really kind of were behind it and really wanted it. And then we did the first 6 songs, and then went back, and then we ended up shopping it to my management team, they shopped it to a few labels and stuff like that. And then finally, like, kind of got I got signed by a record label, and they're behind it 110%. And we went back in the studio and completed the album. And then we just ended up shooting my first music video, which guest starred Magnus from TNA and my dear friend Trish Stratus.
How cool is that?
Very cool.
Yeah, so
cool.
Now we're looking at releasing the single at the end of January, and the video soon to follow, and then the full-on album in March. So it's just kind of been a process, but now I can kind of start seeing, as the sky's clear, I should say, you can start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Just because this album definitely, there was a much larger process to it than the first album, just in the sense, I think, because it had so many minds behind it and how to do it the proper way instead of just going gung-ho, balls to the wall like I did the first one, and just put a little bit more thought and stuff behind it. So,
are you a fan of the auto-tune? I got to ask this because I'm a hip-hop guy. Do you use the auto-tune on your album, Mickie?
The auto-tune? Well, I am not the master of the mastering process, so I pray that they don't auto-tune the shit out of me.
No. When I think...
No, I don't, I feel like regardless of what any artist says, every artist has been auto-tuned a little bit.
Oh, Mickie,
in some sense.
I'm not shooting on your singing skills. I'm talking about the people that have made a career.
And punch you in the mouth.
I'm not shooting. I think that you're wonderfully talented. I'm talking about those people, that they build their whole careers off of auto-tune.
Around like synthesized and auto-tune.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
but
horrible.
That's not your voice. Like, that's the one thing that I've always said to, my producers. I was like, I will sing it until I'm blue in the face, until I can't sing anymore. But please do not, I want to be able to go out and perform this song live and it sound just like or as close to what they hear on the album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if I can't physically do it, then it doesn't make the cut. If I can't sing the song, and where it sounds killer live just as it does on tape, because there's nothing worse. It's like, you hear an artist and they sing the song live and you're like, is that the same person? Like
Bob Dylan.
It's like, what did you say?
Bob Dylan. He falls into that category. Most disappointing concert ever. Love the man, not good live.
How could you say that?
Have you seen him live, Mickie James?
I've never seen him live, unfortunately. Yeah.
Sorry to be the spoiler.
Have you ever considered having a rapper do anything? And I'm into everything. I'm into metal. I'm into country. I'm into rap. But I know a certain individual who did a rap song. Who's sitting next to me. And have you ever heard his rap skills? Have you ever heard his rap song?
No, I haven't.
Well, they're not that good, but you could be nice and just throw him a bone.
Better than you, sir.
Hey, I freestyled one day. I impressed you. Don't put me on the spot now. I won't do it.
And we put impressed in quotation marks. But Mickie James, listen, we're going to have you on in the future. We're fresh out of time right now, but as the album gets closer to dropping, as the single draws near, definitely want to have you back on and talk a lot more about the music career, because I'm genuinely curious about when your passion for music started, when you decided that you wanted to add that to your wrestling repertoire and just build the Mickie James Entertainment brand, because that's what you're doing.
I love you.
And I think it's
Thank
awesome.
You. Well, I really appreciate you having me on today. I mean, it was great talking with you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on. Yeah, I knew you were going to get that in there. You're just lucky I can't sack Romo on Thursday.
Lord. Good Lord.
He really helped my stats last year, by the way.
Oh,
wow.
Happy Thanksgiving. Let's settle on that. Happy Thanksgiving.
Guys. Thank you.
All right,
All right,
Mickie James on Fourth and Pain. We'll be right back.